words and start speaking positive words over yourself, I believe that things can get better. I believe that the world is a good place. I choose to start thinking about the positive things going on around my life. I choose not to watch the TV anymore and take in all that negativity that's coming through there. And actions, I choose then to start doing nice things for people around me. And when I start doing nice things for people around me, I start feeling better about who I am. And then I start becoming the habit of doing kind things for people. And then all of a sudden I look around and the world looks like a better place.
Yes. Isn't it funny?
And then I start getting known as being a nice person in town instead of being this mean, grumpy old person that people used to know me as. So everything affects everything else.
What many people don't understand that when you are dealing with, when you've had let's say you've had a horrible life, I hope you haven't, but when you're dealing with someone in the grocery store, they don't know you've had a horrible life.
No.
We have no idea how we appear to other people if we don't have a smile. It's amazing. I started a few years ago to try to really make a point of, especially the people that otherwise I once would have ignored because I'm so important, because isn't that how we all feel? Paying special attention to people that otherwise I would have ignored. And I just had an example this morning of how that changed somebody else's life. I'm babysitting for my daughter's children because she's off on a little vacation with her husband. And I took little Emmy to the bus stop, and I was waiting then for the bus to go. And then suddenly this driver realized that he knew me from 2 years ago. And he called, "How are you?" And I said, "Oh, terrific." And I waved. Everything was nice. Then he said, "I want you to cross in front of the bus. I don't want you to have to wait for me to move the." Now, that's one little tiny thing. But look how it improved my morning. Oh, my goodness. He remembered me.
Yeah.
You can do this to your life. I don't care what's happened to you in the past. You can make a point of making your own life wonderful, but if you will spend all the time you possibly can doing the little things that make other people's life wonderful. Besides, between you and me, it makes you happy. If you end the day and you've had a lot of smiles with people you don't much know, wow, that makes you so much happier than if you've had another day of grumpiness. So wonderful point, Joyce.
Yeah, so, let's say that you pick on your thoughts. And so maybe for a couple of weeks, you just focus on your thoughts. What is it that I'm thinking about? Are my thoughts positive? Are they negative? How do I think about myself? How do I think about other people? How do I think about the world? And you just really do an inventory of your thought life. And as you do that, you'll begin to see things that you want to change, and you'll begin to see some thoughts that you really like, and you want to continue thinking those thoughts. But out of focusing on those thoughts, it'll automatically begin to change your beliefs, your words, and everything else.
You're right.
If you sit down and think every morning, I've got to spend an hour working on my belief systems, I've got to spend an hour working on my thoughts, I've got to spend an hour working on my actions, my words, it is totally overwhelming. But you just choose one. Which one do you want to focus on first? Maybe you want to focus on your character. Maybe you've got a bad reputation in town, so you want to just spend some time focusing on your character. How did I get this bad reputation? Where did this come from? Why do people think about me this way? How do I want people to think about me? What do I want my character traits to be when people think about who I am as a person? What can I put in place to start making some changes in how I treat people so I'll have better character? So it's doing a lot of self-evaluation, and many times people don't allow themselves the time to just evaluate who they are because they don't believe that they can change. But each and every one of us have the power and ability to change, but the first thing is just to do some self-reflection about who you are and who you want to become. And how did I get to the place where I'm at in life? And some people can do this on their own. Other times it's helpful to talk to a friend, talk to a family member, talk to a counselor, depending on what it is that you want to work on.
I think the most important thing about this is not to find any of it daunting.
No.
Because Rome wasn't built in a day. You are not going to become, a Maharishi in a day either. I mean, everybody starts where they are, and they know where they want to go. And that's one of the things we'll be talking about here. Why do this? Not only because it makes you happy, but because you can change the world. That's why to do it. But if it feels like work on something else.
That's right.
If you are focused so much on, how you're cranky, or let's come up with something else, how you give up things easily, or how you believe everything. So many people I mean, I hear from them a lot. Believe everything is negative. The world is going to end. Yep. There's too much war and hatred. Yep. Young people especially believe they will not see a normal life and death. That's how horrible things are. If that's your focus, don't start there, because all you're going to do is dwell on the negative.
Yeah.
Find the little spark of light in your life. You really love children. You really enjoy music. Emphasize whatever little bit of good there is. Play the great inspirational music in your life. Do whatever you have to do to get started on a positive track. Beliefs, I always thought, were very hard to change. Joyce is helping me see that they're not. The problem is that we have them so intertwined with everything else in our lives that it's hard to extricate yourself. What if you're like Joyce and me? You're a Christian and, I'm married to one. I mean, he cannot avoid going to church on Sunday. And what if that's you? Well, the first thing you probably need to do is let yourself not go all the time. Come up with reasons. Talk to your minister if you need to, but come up with things that God would let you do other than go to church. Maybe it's volunteer work in the soup kitchen. I don't know what it is, but you need to start somewhere. And for each of us, that somewhere is going to be different. Am I right, Joyce?
That is correct. Yeah. Everybody has their own unique life that they're living. They have their own unique life situation. So it will be different for all of us. But the idea is just to make the decision to start and to reevaluate things and allow yourself to see life from maybe a different perspective from the way you've been raised to see life and to understand things.
But most of us think life is hard. We do, because it has been, frankly. That's been our experience. But my experience with growing spiritually has been, if it feels hard, do something else. There are so many ways to approach this. And it's so easy for us to say, well, I need to do this first. And it's so hard. I've been trying for a year. I guess I'm going to give up. That's why you don't start with the hard things. You start with whatever is the easiest thing you in particular can do. Because as Joyce said, and this to me is an insight, I mean, here I am getting this insight, and I've never had it before, but I wish I'd had it because it would have made things easier. It doesn't even really matter where you start. The important thing is to get started. One of the things, as you know, your brain does not create your mind. Your mind is vast and powerful, and most of it is not accessible to you at all when you are in a body. Scientists call it your subconscious. You could just as well call it your superconscious, because really it's most of your mind. The conscious part is not much. But one of the things we have to understand is that because so much of our mind doesn't seem to be directly accessible to us when we're here, it can be tricky to change some of our beliefs because they become so central to who we believe we are. And Joyce has some ideas about that. Joyce, talk about that.
Yes, one of the reasons why people have difficulty making these changes, whether it's changing your beliefs, thoughts, words, actions, habit, whatever it is because of the way our subconscious mind works. So our subconscious mind is part of this vast mind that's a part of who we are, but it's also part of the greater reality and all the other minds that we're connected to. And so these habits and these beliefs, these thoughts are very deeply ingrained in the neural circuitry of our brain. And this is why sometimes it's difficult to be able to make changes. So we may say, I want to change the way I talk about myself. I want to stop doing the same action over again. I want to break this habit. And we try and try and try. We can't seem to make a change. And it's because we're only accessing the conscious part of our awareness. And the root of all this stuff is located in the subconscious part of our mind. And so we really have to be able to access that deeper part of our subconscious mind to be able to make these long-term changes in our life system. And so what scientists have discovered is when you could get yourself in a theta brainwave state, which is what your brain is at right before you fall asleep and right before you wake up, that's when the subconscious mind is opened up for change. So what you want to be able to do is to get yourself in that theta brainwave state, and then you can go in and you can actually start changing the beliefs, the thoughts, the words, the actions, the habits much easier. And there's lots of different tools in which we can do this. You can do this through meditation, mindfulness, hypnotherapy, theta healing. All kinds of different energy-based healing modalities can go in and make these changes when you're in that theta brainwave state.
So how do you do that exactly? I mean,
well, I will give an example. I do a lot of theta healing with my clients. So theta healing is how we go in and we change a belief system. So let's say I have a belief system that I'll just take an example. I had a recent client who had a belief system where she had a difficult time going to bed at night because as a child she was sexually abused at night. And so the bed was a safe place. And so she would spend her nights either not being able to sleep or she'd sleep on the sofa. So her belief system was, I believe it's scary to sleep in bed, or I believe bad things will happen to me if I sleep in my bed. And so once I get her in that theta brave, I do some deep breathing to get her in a theta brave wave state. And then I basically have a command. And through the command, I command that belief system to leave. And then I program in the new belief system, which is it's safe for me to go to bed at night. Nothing bad happens to me when I'm in bed at night type of thing.
Oh, okay.
And these belief systems that we have are located in 4 different parts of our system. So they're located in what we would call the your heart center, your heart chakras, where they're located. They're located on the back of your shoulders energetically, which is all of your past history. So these belief systems sometimes are passed down through our genetic history. And then they're also located up in
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. These belief systems get passed through the genetic line. You can see the patterns of beliefs through your family line, the thought patterns through your family line, the habits and passed down through the family line. And so we can go in and access these different parts of the energy body and make changes.
Does all of this make sense? Yes. One of the things I love about doing this research is I keep getting confirmation from different places. I always thought, and I used to say when I gave talks, that we're, just a meat robot and that our brains are just a receiver or a transmitter in the head of a meat robot. Well, that turns out not to be true. As Joyce just pointed out, our mind's attached to our entire body. And I've just come to accept that relatively recently. So thank you for another confirmation.
Yeah.
So people who are really feeling troubled and they aren't seeming much to be able to affect their beliefs, what you're saying is you may need to get a counselor to help you get started. But it's worth it.
You may need to work at a deeper level than you're able to do on your own. But it's worth it because you'll get the change a lot faster because you're working at the subconscious level instead of just trying to make change at the conscious level.
Okay. Is there one better place to get started, do you think? I mean, as you've worked with people who are trying to go through this process, are actually going through this process, is it easier, for example, to change your speech? Is it easier to change your beliefs or just make sure? I mean, I have a friend who, in fact, we all have had friends like this. Whenever they want to change a habit, they just wear this rubber band around their wrist, and if ever they start the habit again, they snap the rubber band, and that keeps them from smoking or yelling at their husband, whatever.
There's lots of different tools out there which you can find, and what you have to find is, okay, which is the tool that's going to work best for me? And so sometimes you have to try a number of different things before you find the method that is going to be the one that's most effective for you about bringing about change. Because what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another person. I mean, I know in my practice, I primarily focus on the beliefs, the thoughts, and the words. Those are the areas that I focus the most with my clients. Because I found once you make changes in those, the actions, habits, character, destiny will automatically line up with the words, thoughts, and beliefs.
Yeah.
But you can also start, with the actions and the habits, or even the destiny. Starting the destiny, deciding, okay, where do I want to be a year from now? What do I want my life to look like? What changes do I need to make right now to be able to get that job that I really want, to be able to travel where I want to travel, to find the spouse that I want? So destiny, you choose where you want to end up in life, and then you kind of work your way backwards. What do I need to do now to make that happen in my life?
All right, there are people listening who are saying, all right, now you're starting to talk like Jesus, saying we can move a mountain with our minds. I'm living in a life that I'm not happy with it, but at least I'm able to pay the bills, and I'm not sure about my man. All these things. People accept so much in their lives just to get through the day.
Yes.
So if someone's feeling like that now, are you really telling them that they can say, okay, next year, this is the job I want. This is what I want my marriage to be like. This is how I want this or that to be. And they can start a process that can take them there in a reasonable time.
If they are willing to work the process. But what happens is sometimes to get from here to there, we have to give up certain things that maybe we don't want to give up. Maybe we have to, release some relationships from our life that aren't healthy. Maybe we need to leave a job that's not a good place for us and trust the universe is going to bring another job for us. Maybe we need to spend a lot of time and effort spending our money to pay down our debt instead of going out and buying things that we really want to buy.